Time now for the Morning Rush.
And we start with Kristen Curry.
Good morning. Next big weather maker doesn't arrive until this weekend, so we've got nothing but sunshine expected today and very warm temperatures. Warm temperatures and the sunny skies continue through the day tomorrow. Adam?
Morning APS is staying quiet about a new lawsuit. The suit claims a special needs student was raped by another special needs student last August. The girl's grandparents say that she came home crying and claimed that when they took her to the doctor, an exam confirmed that she had been raped and choked. APS would not comment on the lawsuit it's facing, saying these are just allegations.
On to developing news this morning. A bicyclist is in critical condition after being hit by a car. It happened late last night on Cole near Broadway. The intersection was closed during the investigation. It's since been reopened. Police say alcohol was not a factor.
Friends and family are mourning the deaths of two men who drowned in a Bernalillo ditch. Last week, Chris Holland and his friend Brian Lang were walking Lang's dog. Deputies say the dog somehow got into the water and Lang jumped in to save the animal. Holland jumped in to save Lang. Both reportedly suffered hypothermia and drowned.
New overnight, CNN is reporting a secret Marines group still sharing nude pictures of female service members. This comes after a former Marine blew the whistle on the original page at the center of the investigation titled Marines United. Authorities say that page was linked to a folder where tens of thousands of service members shared and commented about the explicit pics. That page was deactivated, but now officials say new pages were recently launched.
And this morning, a federal criminal investigation is in the works looking into WikiLeaks' publication of documents detailing alleged CIA hacking operations. That's according to several U.S. officials. They also say the FBI and CIA are working together to determine how the documents got to WikiLeaks and whether they were leaked by an employee or a contractor.
New this morning, a plan to halt President Trump's revised immigration and travel ban is now officially filed. The state of Hawaii requested an emergency court intervention last night. This is the first legal challenge on the revised order. A hearing now set for March 15th, a day before the ban would go into effect. Here, Sarah.
Happening today, hundreds are planning a silent march at the state capitol to remember the lives lost at the hands of drunk drivers. It's the 8th annual DWI March of Sorrow, March of Hope in Santa Fe, where people walk silently through the streets. Their goal is to get people talking and help stop bad decisions before they happen. The march was organized by student and community groups after 4 teenagers died in a crash in 2009 involving a man who admitted to driving under the influence. The march is set to start at 12:30. Find out about another march inspired by this one coming up in the 5 Facts. Adam?
On its way to the Senate, a proposal to let certain high school students qualify for early graduation. It would let students who score in the top 20th percentile of the SAT, ACT, or other vocational test graduate early with approval from parents and school officials. Some opponents say that those students should not get a regular diploma.
New at 6, more of New Mexico could soon experience high-speed internet. This as Governor Susana Martinez signed 2 bills. One ensures an opportunity to place broadband underground anytime trenches are dug to access utility lines. A second bill would shore up money to invest in broadband projects. Martinez says the legislation will help spur business competition and growth in New Mexico. And
there are just 9 days left in this year's Roundhouse legislative session. Stay up to date on air, online, and on the KRQE News app. Kristen?
The Florida Highway Patrol has reopened Florida's Alligator Alley, the stretch of Interstate 75 connecting the state's east and west coasts. Fire crews have been battling a 7,500-acre wildfire since Sunday. Wildfires also continue to rage in Oklahoma, Texas, and Kansas. Now, New Mexico, our wildfire threat increases on Sunday. Not to say we're totally in the clear today, but we're not going to see any major winds this afternoon. They look to stay pretty light, about 5 to 15 miles per hour. So the Metro Threat Index pretty low, 1. And that's only because we've got some chilly morning temperatures out there. But later this afternoon, no need for a jacket, climbing back to the 70s underneath that sunny sky. Crystal?
As we enter the final weeks of winter, for people with heart failure, winter can be the deadliest season. A study in Detroit found patients are more likely to be hospitalized and more likely to die during the colder months. Researchers say lower temperatures can increase both heart rate and blood pressure, which may be factors in heart failure.
Well, New Mexico City is ranked on a list of the most overlooked cities in the country this morning. Las Cruces came in at number 10 on the list on DK Eyewitness Travel. It's an online travel guide. The guide cites the region's cultural attractions like its food and art scene, as well as nearby natural wonders like White Sands.
As the Lobos get ready for their Mountain West tournament game today, the pit is being honored for going green. The iconic basketball arena is being recognized by the U.S. Green Building Council in their report, showcasing some of the most impressive green venues in the world. They've made significant efforts to save water and boost energy efficiency. Kristen.
Speaking of green, taking a look at traffic map. We have a lot of it out there. No major incidents to slow you down on the surface streets or interstates. We'll be sure to keep a close eye on the traffic situation for you.
And today, the city is holding another Art Beat on the Street event focused on helping support local businesses near ART construction. The event's scheduled to be at Cheese and Coffee Cafe downtown from noon to 1. Music will be provided. The group will be playing the acoustic Roomba guitar.
Ooh.
And finally this morning, Pretty in Pink. It's not just an 80s movie. Starburst is out with an all-pink pack. They'll be available at Target, Amazon, Walgreens, and Kroger, but only for a limited time. Starburst says pink is a fan favorite and by far the most talked about flavor on social media. I love pink, actually.
I like the orange.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting that you love pink because today's outfit is very fitting to the new Starburst. Just saying, I'm in with the times. All right, time now for the 5 facts.
Number 5, happening today, as you just heard from Sarah, hundreds will silently march around the Roundhouse to continue awareness about the dangers of drunk driving. The March of Sorrow, March of Hope started 8 years ago after the deaths of 4 Santa Fe teens in a crash. The New Mexico Walk inspired Texas to join in. Marchers will walk in Austin tomorrow for their 5th year to raise awareness of drunk driving.
And at number 4 this morning, deputies are asking for your help in finding a suspected murderer 6 months after the shooting death of a young woman and her friend. BCSO says Eric Ferrer shot and killed Angelica Herrera and her friend Adrian Anaya. Deputies did file a warrant for his arrest, but they hadn't been able to find him. We did learn the sheriff's department is looking for nearly 40 accused murderers. One warrant dates back to 1982.
At number 3, warm temperatures across the entire state today. Albuquerque, that leaves us in the low 70s. Tomorrow looks perfect. We've got sunshine and temperatures continuing to stay above seasonal averages. Over the weekend, we'll start quiet, a little bit more wind and cooler temperatures expected by Sunday.
At number 2, new this morning, the controversial measure to allow voters to decide if sodas and other sweetened drinks should be taxed in Santa Fe is getting the green light to move forward to the ballot. The 8-1 vote came down a little before midnight, meaning the question will be on the ballot during a special election in May. If approved by voters, the law would impose a tax of 2 cents per ounce of soda, adding 24 cents to the price of a can of Coke for distributors.
On to number 1 now. After an 18-hour session, Republicans plan to repeal and replace Obamacare clears its first hurdle after a House committee passed the bill. It's one of 2 committees tasked with voting on the health care replacement bill. This morning, the House Energy and Commerce Committee still debating, but Republicans are excited over what some call their first victory. Democrats, on the other hand, didn't make it easy. They offered dozens of amendments to try to slow down the process. Still, there are some Republicans not in favor of the bill in place, saying it's Obamacare light.